Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the Gentle Art of Crushing It show, where we focus on learning and sharing with our listeners all there is to know about how to create success in our lives. This show stands on the shoulders of giants. Our mission is to empower and inspire our listeners to create the life of their dreams whilst having a blast in the process. Let's celebrate life together. Welcome to the show.
Okay, well, thank you all for joining us on another episode of the Gentle Art of Crushing It. Today, I have, my friend Jesse Ray with us. And so super excited to dive into this with you, Jesse. Why don't you just please start us off with, telling us a little bit about yourself, what you're up to, your mastermind, the Growth House, and maybe share something fun that, most people would know about you.
Ooh, something fun that most people don't know. Maybe we'll start there. So when I graduated college, my whole life was all about basketball, right? And then after basketball, my second love was music. And so for a while, about a 2-year stretch, I actually was a ghostwriter, which means I would write reference tracks for other artists locally. And then one of our artists got signed by Akon. And with that, we actually opened up and went on tour with a big artist named Young Thug, which he's locked up right now. So I won't say too much about that, but it was pretty cool just to have that experience for a couple of years.
No, that's incredibly cool. And so, are you saying that you're ghostwriting like lyrics or raps, or I mean, that's what typically it is, right? I mean, you have ghostwriters
Yeah.
in writing books, and then also like in raps. That's the only areas that I'm aware of, right? But
Yeah.
that's so fun, and that is the whole thing is difficult in my opinion. I've done some raps, right, and it is
Yeah.
hard, all of it. But writing lyrics is, I don't know, to me, the hardest part. So sounds like you're super creative, and obviously a poet. That's really, really an eye opener. I did not know that, and
Most
but
people
that's
don't.
great.
Yeah.
That's huge. So much fun, man. I love that. But yeah, tell us a bit more about what you're up to with your real estate, and what you love to do there, please.
For sure. Yeah. So high level, what we got going on right now is that we have, it's called Growth House company. We started kind of a couple different branches of it. One is Growth House Living, where aspiring or current entrepreneurs come live in a house with other entrepreneurs. And we have these all across the valley here in Arizona. And then our goal for that is to have 2 to 3 major in every major entrepreneurial city where we have these growth houses. And what comes with that, access to capital, angel investors, kind of a programmatic approach to how do you actually scale to 7, 8 figures and also become profitable, and really kind of the plug and play for anyone who wants to get started, whether it's aspiring, to get into real estate as an investor or their own business. So that's like the living, Growth House Living. And then we also have a community that we recently launched online, virtual. And with that, we also host 2 in-person masterminds I was just telling you about every single year. And I like to go all out. So, we host it in at least a $5 million mansion every single time. It's very intimate, very selective with the people that we want to bring in. I fly in my top network. So top 10 to 15 people from all over the country, Puerto Rico, Nashville, Dallas. Our friend Dave is flying in for this one at the end of May. So it's just incredible. I get to basically create, the environment and association that I wish I was a part of younger, and now I get to create it for other people.
Yeah, I mean that's so huge and so important, and most people are aware that, hey, I need to have a mentor, and then they might know some people that they're trying to build a relationship with, as far as them being the mentee. In the way that I look at it is, come to that sort of activity of building relationships with mentors from abundance, right? There is a lot of them out there, and you want to consider, like, adding value and all of that. So if you're doing it from scratch. But I was involved with the Action Academy, I'm involved with Jason Dree's coaching, where both of these sort of areas have access to mentors, right? And I will tell you, that is probably the fastest way to grow. That, in being tied with, people that also want to take massive action, right? So, so I love that you're doing that. And, can you share with us maybe just 1 or 2 quick testimonies that you've seen, people come into the Growth House and actually, have just, awesome, amazing success?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of my best friends, Derek. So when I was just starting all this, you got to paint the vision, right? So I went to Facebook. I said, all right, here's what I'm looking to do. We're going to have these entrepreneur houses. I didn't have any branding. I didn't even think I called it Growth House at the time. Long story short, this guy, Derek, reaches out to me on Facebook. He said, hey, I'm interested. I'm sleeping on my friend's couch right now, but I just started my Airbnb property management business. I'm making, maybe $1,000 a month. I have 4 or 5 properties under management. But I want to be in this type of environment. So I invite him over. I just bought the second house at the time, which is going to be the first official growth house. And it was being remodeled. And he's like, wait a minute, why is your bed in the kitchen? I swear to God, I slept in the kitchen while the house is being remodeled for like a month. And so he comes in, he's like, what is this? And I'm like, no, don't worry about it. Like I'm painting the vision of what's going to happen here. We're going to have master classes. We're going to have the cold plunge outside. We're going to have, accountability groups. I'm going to have bunch of the top speakers come fly in. And so I painted this vision and he looks at me kind of crazy, but he's like, I'm in. And from that point, within 6 months of him joining the Growth House, being around other entrepreneurs, he literally added 2 more states to his Airbnb property management company, 35 properties. And now, 2.5 years later, he's going to hit over $1 million of revenue. And the last year he had over $500,000 of revenue. So it's incredible just what happens when you're around the right environment and right association.
That's astronomical growth, dude. That is off the charts, huge, and yeah, I love that. And I mean, we don't need to say anything else. We can close the podcast right now. Go sign up for the Growth House, everybody. Like seriously, that's huge, and that's part of the reason why I asked that question. About testimonies, because I really want people to understand that these masterminds and joining groups like this, they are worth it. There are some funky gurus out there that you want to be careful. Always do your research, but like the Growth House is obviously super solid. And so yeah, these things work. The Growth House obviously works. I know that you have at least 10 more of those stories, but I will let the audience reach out to you to find out more about those testimonies. But that's crazy. And that's what people are looking for. And the truth is, and so I want to ask your opinion on this. The truth is, if you are willing to put the work in and continue to have the mindset, or to continue to grow your mindset into abundance, into this will work, you can make big things like that happen. Right.
100%. Yes, having the clarity, putting in the work, and also being around the right environment. Like you said, mentors is such a huge thing for me. Once I started getting serious with mentorship and actually paying, even like we have people in our life that like, oh yeah, I'll help coach you, or I'll kind of guide you along a certain path to get to where you want to go. That's awesome. But the extreme accountability that comes from actually paying someone to be your coach, or joining a community like Action Academy, which I'm a part of too. Crazy story about how I met Brian. Love that dude. We're actually going to go travel to Europe
Awesome.
in a couple of weeks. So yeah, that's my guy.
Nice. That's great. Yeah, Brian Lubin is super amazing. I love him also. He's like just always crushing it. And he's one of these guys that's thinking on a whole other level and just exposing what that mindset, looks like to the rest of the world, helping us rewrite our futures in our lives, right? And I agree with you. Once you pay for a coach, a mentor, a mastermind, it's powerful for multiple reasons. But one of the biggest reasons for me is that you have to like take it seriously now. Most people are not really into wasting money, right? And so and even if you can't really afford to do it, that probably is actually an illusion. You probably can take a look at where your money, your budget, and find some room. Because if you can't really afford to join a mastermind or hire a coach or spend some money on yourself, some books, trainings, courses, that's when you really, really need to do it, because you can potentially stay stuck there for your whole life, which nobody wants, right?
I got a perfect example of this. So before I actually hired my first coach, I was in analysis paralysis for 5 years. 5 years analysis paralysis. I told everyone. I was living in Portland, Oregon. I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to start this real estate journey. I'm going to buy my first house in Arizona. 4 years goes by, 5 years goes by. And at the 5th year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to hire a coach. Shout out Coach Brad, Maine overseas. And I found him on Bigger Pockets, and I reached out to him. And at first, I was just providing him value. I'm like, hey, man, really appreciate this. I want to shout you out on all the Instagram stories. But then I got serious. I'm like, I actually need you to help me get started in this real estate journey. From there, I also then put pen to pad, which I think is super important. I wrote out my goals and with exact date of when I'm going to get this house. Kid you not, within about 30 days of saying, hey, I'm going to close my first house February 1st, 2021. This was like end of December. I put an offer in, like I think it was January 1st. 30 days later, I had the first house. And it's just like, that doesn't happen accidentally. Like you actually had to be intentional the whole time, but also now I had someone that was helping me with the process, but also holding me accountable to it. So yeah, it's basically skipping all the steps that you want to just kind of skip, because you don't have to go through all the pain, all the, the resources that you have are just so much more available when you have someone guiding you through it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 1,000%. It's so powerful, and kudos to you for pulling that off. I also love that you wrote it down, right? And you were specific. You put the exact date. And I'm a big goal setting guy, and to be honest with you and the audience, I set way too many. However, what every once in a while I'll go back and review them, and a lot of those are actually being hit without me being aware of it, right? And so
Yeah.
it does work. And so I love that. I want to kind of switch gears and ask you this fun question. It's sort of two in one. How do you define success? I love for everybody to think that, hey, you can define it for yourself, right? So how do you, Jesse, define success? And then would you mind sharing with us, one or two successes that you've created within the past few years now that you're experiencing all this growth? Or it could be throughout your life, really.
For sure. Yeah. How I define success definitely has changed. At first, I thought success was just, financial success, right? And the same coach that I had, he said, hey, Jesse, there's another step. And that's a level of significance. And so I was, making six figures in my corporate job. I felt like I was a man. I was barely working. I was in a sales role. And I thought that was success. And then I realized I got to think bigger than myself. And there's other people that I can actually serve and help. And that's what's most fulfilling. So for me, it's actually going out there and helping other people, especially people that were in a similar situation that I was in. It's hard to find like-minded people, especially when you're on the grind. I was in my early 20s. I'm like, who else is thinking this way? No one. And it was just hard to find that type of environment. So for me, success is now that fulfillment from helping other people achieve what they want to do and their goals. And also just take care of my immediate family. Because I mean, obviously, I've little siblings. I'm the big brother, and I just want to make sure that my family's taken care of, and then also just have fun while also serving, helping other people. So right now, that's my current definition, I would say, of success. It's a lot more than just finances.
I love that, man. I wanted to just interject something. It's while you were telling me that, I had a flashback because I got to interview Brian Lieben on this show also a while back.
Yeah.
And it was the same, like almost, the same thing that he said verbatim, practically. Like really, once he discovered, how good it feels to serve others and help people basically like level up, which is what you and he are both in the business of doing. He said it's just an amazing feeling. And so that ever since he told me that, I'm kicking around in my head, like, what does that look like? What does that feel like? Right. And so just hearing it from you again is huge. I love that. Do you have a fun success story that you wouldn't mind sharing with us?
Sure. I can share the story about how I got out of corporate America. I think that's a fun one.
Yes. Love it.
So during the years of working in corporate, kind of the main things was delayed gratification, living below my means, saving everything I could. So I lived on a small base salary of $42,000. Even though I was making, over $100,000 in commissions, I didn't look at that. I was just putting everything I could after taxes away, save it, save it, save it. Wasn't really sure I was going to do, but I just knew that at some point I wanted to, achieve financial freedom. And so my first house, I get it. I'm very intentional. I started inviting other entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs to come live with me once I moved to Arizona. And then from there, I get another house when more people are reaching out saying, hey, Jesse, we want to be a part of this growth house that you're creating. And so long story short, we now have these two houses. And at the same time I have these two houses, I got hired at a different company. Everything's going great, 6-figure salary. And this is where it got kind of interesting. I get the second house, and I remember back in my journal, for whatever reason, I put down February of 2022, I want to quit corporate. And this is probably November or December of 2021. So it's only, a few months away from this deadline that I set, but I totally forgot about this deadline and this goal that I set. So I have these two houses, and all of a sudden I go from being the top sales guy at my previous company to now joining this other firm, and I'm in training and I get an email from HR. This is how naive I was. I thought I was getting promoted. I was like, oh, cool. Like HR is reaching out. I'm excited. I'm like, what are they going to talk about? Not realizing that, potentially my job might be on the line. So long story short, I get the email, hop on a call with HR, and they say, hey, Jesse, unfortunately, I know you haven't been able to produce because you're still in training, but we're cutting half your team and you're one of those people. And from there, I just was shocked. I was like, damn, this is real. I never thought this would be real because, I got paid for my results and I was very good at sales. And so I go, okay, well, let me talk to this other manager because they wanted to offer me another role. So I go talk to the other manager, and the manager, for whatever reason, just had a weird, we just rubbed each other the wrong way. And I usually don't have confrontation, but during this whole process, they're just like, why should we, hire you? I'm like, in my head, I got hired for a couple sales positions above you. Why are you trying to big dog me? Is what I'll say. At the very end, they say, Jesse, sell yourself to us. I go, what do you mean? They say, well, you're in sales, so why should we hire you? Sell yourself to us. I know what they're talking about. I know what they were trying to do, but for whatever reason, all of this together just rubbed me the wrong way. And in my back of my head, I start adding up the rental income that I have. I'm like, okay, that bedroom's $1,000. That bedroom's $1,000. The casita's bringing me, $2,000. So I say, hey, let's just stop right here real quick. Let me ask you one question. Remind me what the salary is for this job. They told me the salary. And I said, you know what, guys? I'm not going to sell myself to you because you can't afford me. That's exactly how I left corporate America. That felt so freaking good because at the end of the day, I dug my well before I was thirsty. I had no idea I was going to end up, being on a chopping block to get fired. But that's how I ended corporate America. So for me, I think that was a success, even though I got fired. So I went all into entrepreneurship.
It was a huge success, man. And yeah, you got cut from that one role, but you said no to the other one. And kudos to you, man, because you were able to walk away with your dignity, right? And how often have we had jobs in the past where we go, you know what, looking back, I should have told that guy to take a hike and quit right then and there, right? But that was a legitimate, righteous thing for you to say. They had to sell themselves to you. They had it backwards, right? So kudos to you, man. And I also think our perspective is important, right? So some people will look at, getting cut from a role as a blessing, and some people will look at it like a curse, right? And so it's up to us. We get to choose. And some things are out of our control, right? That's really what extreme ownership is about, is, how do we respond to these things? Some are out of our control, some are in our control. And I love how you handle that, dude. You couldn't have done a better job there. So,
and here's when I knew that it was God as well. Because remember, I told you February of 2022. I don't know why everything was February on my goals, but for this one, it was February of 2022. I wanted to quit corporate, right? So I get let go and I say no to that role. This is December of 2021. And I go back to the HR lady and say, hey, love you guys, great company, but I'm going to have to, look at other opportunities. And she goes, well, we do have that severance package. I said, okay, well, tell me about that. And then she says, well, Jesse, you'll get paid until February 2022. And that's when I just looked up and I smiled at her. I said, all right, God, I'm all in. Because there's so many times in my life where I've set goals to be done with corporate, but this just aligned perfectly. And I knew, it was God saying it's time.
I love that, man. And I love that you're bringing up God, because for me, I'm a Christian, and what has been awesome, I love it. And what's been happening for me lately is, I've usually when I'm working out, I am listening to an audiobook that's about real estate. And I flipped it recently because a couple of weeks ago, I had a couple rough days and I was feeling just off, right? Funky. And it's just so crazy how good I'm feeling. And honestly, I wasn't regular at church, and now we are back again. I'm getting tied in with just other Christian guys and stuff. And I couldn't sell that. If I was, going to be a sales rep for anything, it would be, number one would be God, right? And because
Mhm.
what the impact that he has on us and has on our lives is unreal, but also like you showed there, as we continue to trust him, because what I'm trying to say is like when you did choose the right path on that day, you are now where you're at today. Like you decided to build your dreams. We are born and put on this planet and only have one life to live. And it's up to us to make the best out of it, right? And I believe we were not born here to be clogs in a wheel, right? Or cogs in a wheel,
Absolutely.
or whatever the right word. So
Yeah.
I love that so much. So let me kind of shift gears here and ask you this fun question. If we were to, shift back in time to age 18, and you could bring your current mindset with you, what are some things that you would share with yourself that would fast track success, if anything?
You become who you surround yourself with, hands down. Like that's our growth house motto. Obviously, we kind of took the longer quote, which is you become the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And it is so true. My environment and association back then was, go have fun on the weekends, go party, nothing really to live for. And if you keep living that way, then nothing else is going to change. But it wasn't until I changed my environment. And the reason I actually moved to Arizona was there was a tweet that I saw from one of my favorite influencers. And he said, life hack, move out of your hometown in your 20s. And along with that and being intentional about who I surround myself with, that's 100% what I would tell my 18-year-old self. I don't know if my 18-year-old self would have listened, but if I could go back, I would just say if you're in that position right now, you're 18 or even early mid 20s, even later in life, it doesn't matter what age you are, you can't outrun the fact of how important it is to surround yourself with the right people, and even the people that you think might not be, negatively impacting you. But if they're a negative person, if they're not having the same goals as you, that's going to slowly just start to rub off. I've seen it happen with myself after I'm already, I thought I had the impeccable mindset, nothing's going to penetrate what I think, my positivity. But if I start hanging around people that, are cussing all the time, going out all the time, that's going to end up rubbing off on me. So that's what I would say. Just surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah, I love that, man. And very, very similar, advice to what I give myself. And I love that life hack. For me, I grew up basically in San Francisco Bay Area, California. We moved out of there 6 years ago, almost. And that's been one of the best things that I've ever done. We don't know anybody, like I don't have family out here. And I love my family. I love my friends. And I do miss that in them, my hometown. But with that being said, like I've grown so much because I'm now in this opportunity where I can pick who I'm hanging out with. And that's so important, man. And your friends will either drag you down or they'll lift you up. So be aware of
Yeah.
that. And I think the only thing I would piggyback onto what you said is that we also need to be aware of when we are hanging out with mentors or people that are more positive than us or optimistic, I'll say. We want to be careful with our own mindset, and we want to continue to give our friends and the people that are trying to level us up our mentors, the benefit of the doubt, right? And so, yeah, that's great, man. It's super, super cool. And I think the only person that I would have listened to at age 18 is, the older version of myself potentially, because
Yeah.
we got a lot of that advice growing up, right?
Yeah, our parents always try to just like protect us. Like, don't hang out with Johnny because Johnny's a bad influence. But you don't realize that until you look back.
They're right. They're right. I like run
hmm
these conversations through my head, about, my mom saying, no, this guy's not a good influence on you. And now that I'm a parent, I'm like, yeah, 1,000%, you know what I mean? And so it's true. I do want to really be respectful of your time, Jesse. I am looking forward to a flourishing and awesome friendship with you. I can just tell that's one of the things that, I think people really are drawn to you about is like, your inner joy, your personality, and your willingness to bless others and help other people grow, right? No pun intended. But so with that being said, how can people find more about you? Are there any particular deals that you are looking for that our audience can support you with? And how can people connect with you?
Yeah. How people can connect with me? Probably Instagram. I'm the most active. It's at the Jesse Ray, TheJessEray. Also on LinkedIn, very active as well. And as far as the deals, since we have our community and a lot of people are following my method of financial freedom, which for me was real estate, but specifically through co-living. And so if anyone has any, co-living type properties, our community is always looking for those. Looking to potentially start a fund at the beginning of next year. So we're diving into what that looks like. And, we're both inspired by Brian Lubin. So whatever he has on the horizon, we're like, oh, maybe we should start thinking bigger and look at doing something like that. So big shout out to him. And I appreciate you, man. I just listened to Mason's episode. Mason's a great guy as well. I've connected with him. So I'm just super honored to be on the podcast here.
Yeah, well, I'm super honored to have you, man. Really appreciate your time, Jesse. And yeah, Mason is incredible. It's almost like, are you a genius? Yeah, I think you are. Same with Brian, right? And so it's like, just don't question it. These guys are awesome. If you can connect with Brian, Mason, or Jesse, please do so. Again, thank you so much, Jesse, for your time. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. This is the end of another episode of The Gentle Art of Crushing It. And thank you so much again, Jesse. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you, my man.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, another episode of The Gentle Art of Crushing It. It was an amazing episode. We know we sure learned a lot, and we hope you did as well. We want to take a second and thank you so much for viewing or listening to this episode. And please just know that we only ask for one favor, and that is to make this life magnificent. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.